What's good, everybody? In this video, I'm going to go over 3 examples on how to solve equations. So I'm going to do an overview and explain some important concepts and rules and tricks that you guys can use to make this process easy. So problem number 1, we have a fraction inside of the equation. And sometimes I know students get confused. But what I notice is if you rewrite it like this, it's easier for you to understand how to solve the equation. Since we're talking about those inverse operations, right? Basically working backwards to solve. So instead of dividing by 7, we're going to multiply by 7 on both sides. And now we have 3x plus 5 is equal to 14. So I know a lot of students get confused when it's written in this format, but if you rewrite it like this, it's easier to understand and to figure out how to solve. So now we just subtract 5 from both sides, and we're going to get 3x is equal to 9. And when we divide by 3, x is equal to 3. Now, problem number 2 is just about this, is very similar, I should say. It's not the same. But what we need to understand is after we multiply, get rid of that fraction, is going to be a little bit different. So let's say we keep it like this and we multiply by 2. Right? So 2 cancels out on this side. We're left with the opposite of n minus 2 plus 3. Now, guys, remember that in this problem, we only had to multiply that 7 and one number. But over here, there's 2 terms. So what we want to do is put parentheses around it, put that 2 on the outside so we don't forget that we're distributing and multiplying 2 by both 5 and n. So we're going to get 10 minus 2n. And just remember at this step now, guys, the negative only applies to what's inside the parentheses. 3 will stay the same. So 10 minus 2n is equal to negative n plus 2 plus 3. Always tell students before you try to move terms from one side of the equation to the other, combine your like terms where possible. So after I combine my like terms, we'll have 10 minus 2n is equal to negative n plus 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my 2n onto the right side of the equation so that my variable will remain positive. So 10 is equal to positive n plus 5. After we subtract 5, my final answer is going to be 5 is equal to n. So when we have a fraction, guys, and there's more than one term on the opposite side, after we get rid of the fraction, just remember you have to multiply that number in the denominator by both these terms and not just one of them. Now, problem number 3, we're going to focus on solving equations with fractions and exponents. So in this last problem, guys, I'm going to show you a few different ways that we could solve. So number 1, what I always advise students to do, especially when we have fractions in the equation, is to get the fraction, right, and the variable it's attached to by itself. So we're going to subtract 1 before we even try to get rid of this fraction. So 3 over 4x squared is equal to 15. Now, there's 2 ways that we could solve this. I'm going to do it the way that I like, and then I'll go back and show you another way. So what I like to do is split the fraction. So we're going to multiply by 4. Denominator cancels out. We're only left with 3x squared on the left-hand side. And when we multiply the other side by 4, we're going to get 60. Okay? And now we go back, divide by 3. We have x squared is equal to positive 20. Now, you're going to see this a lot, guys. And just remember that when we have an exponent and we want to get rid of it, we're going to take its square root. Well, when it's an exponent of 2. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So now x is by itself. And remember that when we're talking about exponents, guys, what we need to know there's going to be a positive and a negative answer. Why? Because positive 5 times positive 5 is 25, and negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So when you see this plus or minus answer, right, this is what it means, all right? There's 2 possible solutions. So it's going to be plus or minus 20. And when you get into radicals more, we could break this down as, let's see, the square root of 4 times 5. And when we simplify, we would get 2 radical 5 as an answer, plus or minus. So we could have left it as plus or minus 20, or if your teacher asks you to simplify, when we break that radical down, we will get 2 radical 5. Now, another way that we could have solved and got to the same exact answer, let's go back to this step here. And I normally advise students to do this, but sometimes students can make a mistake. So when we're right here, 3 over 4x squared is equal to 60, right? Oh no, I'm sorry, not 60 yet, 15. What we could do at this step, guys, is just divide by the entire fraction. So if I divide by 3 over 4, that's gone. We have x squared is equal to, and we'll go on the other side and do the same thing, okay? But when we're dividing by fractions, remember, keep, change, flip. So 15 stays the same, division turns to multiplication, and 3 over 4 turns into 4 over 3. I'll put 15 over 1 just for my students who are visual, like me. So after we multiply, we're going to get 60 over 3. And when we simplify, x squared is equal to 20. So just remember, guys, that when we're trying to get rid of fractions, there's two ways to do it. We could split the denominator like I did in the blue, or we could divide by the entire fraction like I did in black. However, you will get the same exact answer once you simplify and follow all the correct steps. I linked the video down below on our older videos or other videos we have on solving equations. Really hope this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, smash the like button for us, subscribe to the channel, and leave any comments on this video or future videos you guys would like to see on our channel. Thank y'all for joining me so much today. This is Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.